Welcome back to Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast. Did we catch that whole intro? Because my thing was glitching a little bit.
I
Okay, so
did.
we good to go. All right, cool. All right, cool. And you're smiling, Chanel, so you must have loved the intro. And that's what we like right there. Well, we want to thank you. We have another amazing guest, Chanel Caldwell. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Good. So we have another amazing guest on Unfiltered Unspoken. I told you we're going to continue to share life experiences, and this is another amazing testimony in hopes that someone will connect so that they can start the journey to healing. Chanel, we want to thank you for being a guest on Unfiltered Unspoken podcast. Can you come up and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am a happiness and emotional release coach. So I help women to really figure out what's been holding them back from life. Because I know a lot of us will be going through life just like surviving, just going through the motions, but we really don't feel like purpose or passion, especially when we're in our motherhood, especially, right? And so I just help women to really connect with their passion and purpose. And I help them to heal and remove all of the trauma that they've been through and help them to give them the tools that they need to do it on their own as well. So that's what I do.
Well, thank you again for being here with us this evening. As we do with all of our guests, we'd like to start off with the conversation of if you experienced any trauma during your childhood or adolescent years. What was your home structure like growing up? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I was raised by my mother. So she was a single mother. My dad was around, obviously. He was around every other weekend, and I got him on summer. So he was still in my life, although just not there every day. And my mom was just like a lot of other Black women, just trying to survive. She's working all like long hours. So a lot of the time, especially when my adolescence, I was unsupervised a lot of time. And there was I think things that were passed down from her parents and the parents before that, and things that they believed was okay, and different things like that that entered itself into my life. And at the time I didn't realize it was trauma, because I mean, when you're a kid, it's just the only thing that you know. But I did find myself latching on and connecting to like friends, and really being like a pit bull for them, where I would just defend them and be the person they'd call to like fight for them. And those are all trauma responses. And so I noticed that that was a lot going on in my life. There was domestic violence that I saw, a lot of other things, drug abuse in my family. And so there was just things that I normalized that were definitely not normal. But I honestly know now that my mom obviously did her best, and she did the best with what she could, right, with what she knew. But all I can do now is to do better and learn more, and so I won't pass the same things on to my kids.
Okay, we started off well. So let's see. I want to start because one thing that you did mention was you saw a lot of domestic violence as a child. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's not my story to tell, but I definitely, my mom was dating a certain person, and what I did notice, well, I am going to tell this part of the story. He lured her in. So when they first met, he was one of those guys that's like coming over and spends the night and then never kind of leaves. And he would go in there and chef up all this bomb ass food. And my mom was just like enjoying it. She loved it. And he was like putting weight on her. And we didn't really notice that, like, that was the MO at the time, that he was trying to like plump her up to, like, I guess, be undesirable to other men. And then that's when kind of he started treating her differently when she was a bigger woman, and he started trying to like dog her out. And it just got crazy. I saw things that I shouldn't have seen. When I ask my mom about it now, she tells me I'm crazy. Like, the things I remember did not happen. And I think, I don't know if she normalized it or blocked it out, but I definitely remember those things. Right. And so, but yeah, she went through those moments. I do remember her finally standing up and saying, like, enough is enough, and putting him out. And the police came to get him out. And so that was a moment when I recognized from her, like, even though you might take some shit, like, she's really strong. My mom's always been a very strong woman. And so I do remember those years of our lives where this person was wreaking havoc. And I just knew I never wanted to be in a relationship like that. But we somehow find ourselves into similar situations, even if they're not the exact same.
And did any of that, kind of play a part in the like direction you were going, moving into like more adolescent years, or how were things, with school or friends or first boyfriends? Like, how did that help kind of shape, your trajectory with that?
I don't know if it was just that one thing. I think it was a culmination of a lot of different things, but I think ultimately me being a child and expressing concern and not being heard, feeling scared and not feeling like safe, um, and I just didn't feel like I had a lot of places to turn. And so when I got older, I started to meet friends, right? And I'm meeting friends and I'm grasping onto them. I desperately wanted a friend because we moved so much, right? We were on housing. And so I swear I went to like 5 elementary schools, and it was just like every year I was starting over again, new kid, no friends, like, you know. And finally in the, I think 6th grade, that was when I finally stopped moving schools, and I got to finally move up to middle school and high school with my friends that I had found in the 6th grade. And so I was able to feel some semblance of normalcy finally with the friends I had. But I really, really rode from my friends. And I think the low self-worth that I gained from having that insecurity in my home life is what allowed me to put myself on the back burner and put other people's needs and their safety before my own, and allowed me to actually eventually be taken advantage of by the same people that I love the most. So yeah, I think it was a part of my story, but not the full thing.
Okay. Ooh, you're giving us so much. I don't even like. I'm like, woo. Where do I go? So you mentioned as a child expressing your concerns and not feeling safe. Are you comfortable with talking about that a little?
I mean, a lot of this is not my story, but it kind of is, right? But I think when you say to your parent, like, this person scares me, I don't want this person in the house, and they find a reason to rationalize why this person is okay to be in the home, you begin to feel like I'm not safe. I've actually told my parent I don't like this person, I'm uncomfortable with this person, and they're still here. Luckily, he never did anything to me, right? That I'm blessed for that. But I didn't want to see my mom be abused either. So that was uncomfortable for me. There was a situation where we had a lot of like drug abuse in our immediate family. And so we saw a lot of unsavory characters, a lot of crazy altercations, drug deals, police calling, deaths, like a lot of stuff going on. But it was kind of normalized in our environment. So it like I didn't feel anything about it until I started to do the work later on.
So after, well, I guess, um, what was the next kind of significant point in your life, or where you saw that the things that decided that you weren't going to go through, that you kind of ran into? Where did those problems start to come up?
Well, because I seen drug addiction in my family, and I was like, I would never do drugs, right? And so I'm like, I would never touch cocaine, I would never touch crack or anything like that. But I didn't notice that alcohol was just as bad. And so at about 11, I think I tried alcohol for the first time. And then at the age of like 12, 13, I started, I think that it's funny because I was just talking to my daughter about this. Children that are emotional pain will find their way to each other in school. And so as I got up in age, I started to attract other kids that were in emotional pain and maybe didn't know that. And so it was like a recipe for disaster. So we were drinking all the time, smoking weed, cutting school. But I was really smart in school. So like I could show up not that many times and still pass. So I did great in school. That wasn't an issue for me as much, but I definitely was still doing all the things that you know, I guess you could say the bad kids were doing, right? And so that's when, if I were to look back, when my issues, especially with alcohol, started because I was drinking. We were drinking before school, drinking at school, after school parties, all those things. And my mom worked nights and she slept during the day, so I was very much unsupervised. And so it was like a free for all for me in my life at that age. So I think that's around when it started to get crazy, especially with my own acting out and me basically self sabotaging and doing harmful, basically self harm in a way that I didn't realize was self harm, right? The drinking and the recklessness, all of that stuff.
So, I wanted to go back because you said you started drinking at 11 years old. How did you start drinking? Like, what made you gravitate towards drinking? And did anyone notice in the family, or specifically your mom was raising, did she know that you were drinking?
I only tried it for the first time at 11, like where I actually drank like some shots, but I really started drinking more when I was like 13, 13, 14. And she didn't really notice. Like I said, my mom was in her own world. She was really stressed out. She worked all the time. And when she wasn't working, she was sleeping. And when she wasn't sleeping, she wanted, some personal time. And so I don't know, I can't speak for her, but I just know that she was really trying her hardest. And I was the one that was seeing my opportunity for, not being supervised and taking advantage of it. So most of the time she didn't know that I was drinking. There was a couple times when I think she might have known. Like one time I got shit faced wasted and I missed my supposed to meet up with my dad, at like for his weekend, and I was blacked out wasted and I got brought home and she just looked so upset and disappointed in me, but like we never talked about it after that. She never brought it up again. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, I don't know if she really noticed. I can't really answer that.
And then, sorry, I lost my question like I always do. I guess what was kind of to piggyback off of Demetrius' question, um, what I guess made you gravitate towards alcohol versus, anything else that you may have seen or seen your family experience? I guess what was it about the feeling of alcohol, I guess, that you enjoyed, I guess, versus anything else that you may have tried or seen someone else on?
I think again, like we weren't really trying to do heavy drugs, and alcohol was so easy to get because most of our parents were busy and not paying attention. So there was usually alcohol in the house. That was easy to get. We were cute girls, so you can find like a bum on the street and like he'll use his ID, go buy you some alcohol if you buy him some cigarettes or something, or we would just take it from the store. It was really easy to have. And so maybe that's why we did. I'm not really sure, but it was definitely the alcohol and then sometimes the weed. But I used to get paranoid. I didn't really like to smoke that much weed when I was younger. Yeah, I don't know if there's one thing over another why we chose alcohol.
Oops, I'm sorry. I know she's glitched. I think she's trying to, there she go.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, my phone is I'm on. I'm doing the best that I can do. Be patient with me. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Okay.
I wanted. um, you also mentioned when you were a child that you moved a lot, 5 different schools, up until sixth grade. Did that have an effect on you as a child? And if so, what were some emotional pieces to it, moving each year, being able to make
I think again, like the fact that I was moving every year and having to make friends every single year, when I finally stopped moving around and I started having connections with people, it really made me feel like my friends are my family. That was really, really, really important to me. And so I feel like that's the reason why there was this like desperation to have this certain type of friend group and friends around me that it made me not be able to see who was actually my friend and who wasn't until I got older and started like really doing the work and looking back. But I absolutely think that my inability to connect all those years with like people allowed me to be blinded by the idea of having best friends and friendship, that I was just willing to pretty much do anything to keep it. So, nobody wants to be like, oh, desperate girl. But that's what it kind of gave, though. When I look back, I'm like, damn, I was fighting for my friends. Like, all my friends had to do was tell me, like, somebody was being disrespectful, and I was on go. Like, you didn't need to tell me too much for me to protect my friends. And, sometimes it was warranted, but most of the time, the people who I did that for would never do the same thing for me. Like, when I look back, no.
Oh, I guess it's on me. Um, Now, in all of this, what kind of, even though, you kind of seen him half the time, what kind of a role did your dad take in, the things that you are running into or the behaviors you were exhibiting? Was he just kind of more of the fun dad type or disciplinarian, or, was there kind of stern parenting going on there? Or what was the results or effect of maybe seeing him half the time or him not being as present as you needed him to be?
Um, my dad was to me, it's funny because people are like, you marry your dad, but I truly believe that you marry and you attract like people that are like your most emotionally impactful parent, whether that's good or bad. And unfortunately, I had more time with my mom. And so there was more negative memories that I have with my mom than with my dad, although even though he wasn't there half the time, right? Which isn't fair, right? To the moms, like, wait, what? I'm here, right? But my dad, for the most part, he was working really hard. I did learn a lot of good things from my dad. He told me how to, be able to move around in corporate America, because my dad was like the only Black man in his company. So he explained a lot of like politics to me about how to basically code switch in order to get far in corporate America. And then I saw him work really hard. My stepmom, she was an entrepreneur, and I helped her build her business. And she was a millionaire at some point when I was younger. So there was a lot of good things over there. But again, my mom and dad were not on speaking terms. And so it's like there's a lot of turmoil that goes on there. But I a lot of the trauma that I experienced was me looking back at my behavior and realizing that that's what was going on. During that time, I want to say that for the most of my life, I've been low level depressed, and I was really like numbing out. A lot of things didn't really feel emotional. I really didn't care. I felt like I don't give a fuck about myself. I don't give a fuck about anybody else. Like that's how I was living my life. And so although I can look back and see that there were things that affected me from my childhood during it, it didn't feel like it was just full of trauma, if that makes any sense.
And I want to go back into that because I'm about to get deep a little
That's
bit, because
fine.
I like to for people to see the transparency of things that children go through their childhood, and it affects them going into their adult decisions. I was reading a piece of the information that you sent us, and it says that you were inappropriately essayed during as a child. Are you comfortable with speaking about that?
During college or as a child?
As a child, you went through some emotional pieces, and as a child. Am I correct or am I incorrect? I'm sorry. I might be incorrect.
Um, I wish I had it in front of me. I'm trying to think of for
Hold on, let me pull it. Hold
yeah,
on.
probably right. Just trying to make sure.
Go ahead. Sid, ask another question and I'm gonna pull it.
Okay. So when that was actually the question I was going to ask, but you're going in that direction. In what, I guess, significant ways were you exhibiting the behavior that felt like you were just kind of living and didn't give a damn about your life? And I guess, why do you feel like you felt that way?
So
Mm,
most of this happened like when I was in college, when I had like a lot of my come to like awareness moments about how I was living my life. And so again, when I since I've been 13, I've been hanging out with people who are drinking, right? So that's normal to me. And I remember coming to college and my they were drinking beer and I'm like, I brought like 100 proof Southern Comfort gallon, like, let's take shots. So I'm over here now being a bad
mhm.
influence to people who just drinking beer. And so now we're taking shots. And not only are we taking shots, it started with 1 day a week to 2, 3, 4 days a week, and we're drinking. And most of the time that I drank, I would black out at some point. And so not only was I like fighting, there would be like situations where I would be with a guy that I don't remember sleeping with. And a lot of times when you're living that life, you chalk it up as an L, like a loss. Like if you don't remember something, you're like, I fucked up. Like I should have been that drunk. Like you never
Mhm.
think like that you have been assaulted. You never thinking that, the person taking advantage of you, right? Like that doesn't cross your mind in college. And that's something that I want to stress. Like just because you're getting drunk at a bar doesn't mean that you've consented to sleeping with somebody you would never fucking touch if you're sober. Okay. Especially if that guy is drinking water all fucking night, waiting for you to get blackout drunk and come parking lot pimping outside, right? So that's like happened to me a lot, but I'd be drunk, I'd be, putting myself in those situations. I mean, I've had a lot of situations where I've had to like get away or escape, and I was drunk, so I thought it was funny. And there was a time when I was in college where I befriended someone and ended up her and her husband like sexually assaulted me, but she
That's where I was
really was
going. Mhm.
gaslighting it. Yeah, she gaslighted me and pretty much I mean, I would say that's when I found out who my real friends were in college. And that's what made me start looking at my life like, girl, are you fucking desperate? Like, why would you be friends and try to make people like care about you who are clearly showing you that they don't, right? And so it took me to all of that to happen. Plus, I was drinking and driving, of course, because I was the only one with a car. So now I'm drinking and driving. I get a DUI. I have to go to these DUI classes, and we're making fun of how high our blood alcohol was, and we're like, "Oh." But by the end, it's like, bro, why are we the only ones here? Like, we've all been through some shit. Like, maybe there's something deeper here about our drinking than we even know, right? And that's when I started to really look like I have a problem. I'm a binge drinker. I can't just sit in front of a bottle and just have a sip for the most part and walk away. Like, that was not my life. And that's when I had to start looking into what was going on within me. And that's really what started my awakening was that DUI, really.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I found it. I was incorrect. It was college. So ways in college, promiscuous, essay, and emotional abuse relationships. So I wanted to make sure that I corrected it and have it had it correctly to say it. So, are you comfortable with talking? Because I know you just chimed in a little bit, and you said it was a friend and her husband that sexually assaulted you. Are you okay with talking about that a little bit? Because I know it. You mentioned the drinking piece, the manipulation of the friend, so that we can bring awareness to other people, just in case they're in a similar situation.
Sure. So I had just met this girl, like
Mhm.
mind you, some of my one of the friends I had was from like when I was in the seventh grade, and by the time I'm in college, so we've been friends for a long time. And a lot of the friends that were in college were her friends. So, but I was there, I'm thinking they're all my friends too, right? Like, why wouldn't they be, right? And so I didn't really have any of my own friends when I came to college. So I'm in this class and I meet this girl, we have so much in common, right? And so I bring her around my friends. Of course, they like her because I like her, we're hella much alike. So we start hanging out. And one night I was going to spend the night at her place. She was married, but she said he wasn't coming home. So I'm not thinking nothing of it. We get to drinking. We're like drunk. And then the next thing you know, like he walks in the door. I don't know if that's something she knew or not. I have no idea. And so I'm thinking, like, we don't have enough alcohol. Like, we didn't bring enough for 3 people, right? So this is what I'm thinking at this point. I'm like, we got to go to my house and get another bottle. That's what I'm thinking. So we all pile in the car, we go to my house, and then on the way back is when shit starts getting blurry. Like, I remember the door opening. I remember, I think she had like dropped her keys or something. And the only thing I remember after that is like opening my eyes. And when I opened my eyes, like if you're laying on the couch and you put your head in someone's lap that's sitting straight forward. So I was laying like that. And when I looked up, she was looking down like towards where my private parts are. And I'm looking up at her face. And when she looked down to see that I was awake, she asked me, "Do you want it?" I don't know what the fuck she was talking about. I passed back out. I don't remember anything else after that. And I woke up naked on the couch downstairs with the fan on me, and they were upstairs in the bed together. And so I was still drunk, and I'm like, I've been taught to question my sanity because in my life when I was younger, it's like I would always get in trouble for any mistake. Like I always used to say, if I put down a cup on the floor and the people in my family kicked it over, they'd be like, "Why you put that on the floor?" And if I kicked over their cup, they'd be like, "Why you ain't paying attention?" So it like no matter the scenario, I was always at fault. So I started to look for reasons why maybe I'm tripping. I always did that first and foremost. I'm tripping? So I go upstairs, I jump on the bed. I'm like, "What are y'all doing?" And they're like, "Oh," and she told me what happened, and I'm like, hmm. She said she didn't let him go all the way, but he was like doing oral, and I'm thinking, okay. And then when I went home, as I started sobering up, I'm like, what the fuck? And so I told my friends, and they were like, oh my God, like that's crazy, right? I can't believe that. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to hang out with her no more. But when I shit you not, on Friday, she was there to hang out with us again. And I'm like, pulling my friends aside, like, bro, I thought I told y'all what happened. They're like, yeah, it's fucked up. Like, I don't know. Like, I just, it's kind of like, I don't want it to be uncomfortable. That's what they're telling me. They don't want to stand up for me. Right. So over time, she's always there, always there. Nobody's telling her nothing. And I tried to bring it up with my friend, my oldest friend, and she basically yelled at me, told me, stop fucking talking about it. I always black out. So I probably don't remember because she told them that I'm lying about what the fuck happened to me because she doesn't want to be honest about it, right? So my friend that I've known for most of my life at this point is looking me in my face and telling me, "You probably just don't remember, girl." And I just couldn't take it. And so I'm complaining every time we drink, like I'm getting emotional because I don't want to be around her. But mind you, me and her vibe because we're friends. We were friends before, so we'll be together, we'll vibe, and then I start feeling uncomfortable because I'm like, why do I have to hang out with her, right? And over time, it was just like they pretty much gave me an ultimatum, like without saying it, like shut up about it, or else we're not going to invite you places. And they stopped inviting me places. And I just remember like begging her to leave me and my friends alone, begging my friends to like not have this person around me. And it just to the point where they stopped inviting me places. And one night they called me in the middle of the night and was like, "Girl, we need you to come fight. We was at the club and this girl hit old girl, our friend, and we need you to come outside." And I'm like, "You guys went to the club?" Like we lived in the same apartment complex. And I'm like, "Oh wow, it's like that." It got super silent on the phone, right? And so it just was a gaslighting situation. They're still friends to this day. I just X'd myself out of the situation because I realized that they can't be my real friends. Because my real friend, when I called her and told her what happened, she was putting on her black sweatsuit and her Nikes, right? Like, I got to drive down there, like, what do you mean? Right. And so that's how that scenario went. And I remember seeing this husband at a party, like right after it. And my neutral friend, the one that didn't want to get involved, but told me how much she cared about me, like, we saw him and he was laughing with other men like about me. You could tell it was about me. It was so disgusting. So that was the scenario. Yeah.
Goodness. That was a lot. Well, thank you for giving us a little bit to kind of go on from that. That is a horrible situation, especially for them to kind of gaslight you through the whole transaction. Um, did you notice any like weird, I guess, vibes between them two prior to like? Have you seen like them being like creepy with other women, or like, their relationship just being a little like off? Was there anything that you did notice in like retrospect, after you felt like they harmed you in a sense?
I think that she was bi. I think that's the truth, and I feel like there was some reasons why I believe that, but from back in the day, I just can't remember them exactly. But so I don't know if it was a setup or if it just happened. I have no idea. I really don't. Like, I try to really recall the moments. Like, is there any inkling that she knew he was going to come home? And I question that. I used to question it all the time, but it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't care if it just happened. Like, honestly, the what I really wanted was for her to just be like, girl, we were fucked up. Like, I'm sorry if anything happened that you didn't want. Honestly, that would have been enough for me. I just didn't like the fact that she was telling all of my friends that I was a liar and I was not lying, right? It's like, at least just be honest and say we were fucked up. And if shit went too far, like, I'm sorry. That would have been enough for me at that time because I was used to getting fucked up and doing shit that I probably wouldn't do sober, right? So, like, I probably would have been able to rationalize that a lot better. But just knowing that this person was lying on me just wrecked my spirit at that time. Like, it really hurt me that I was not being heard, right? And so I feel like I spiraled a little bit when I stopped hanging out with them. I started meeting people I didn't really know like that, and a lot of shit transpired after that.
I was gonna ask, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, good. I was gonna ask, with the drinking and the excessive drinking, when did you stop and just, this is enough?
So after my DUI, like I said, I got my DUI. I blew like 0.27 or something like, and I remember myself driving fine. I know I hit something in the road when it happened, and the cops like knocked on my window, and it's like you can't have the keys in the car, like, or else it's gonna be like, intent to drive. And so I try to roll it down, and he's like the smell probably hit him. I think I had 12 shots of E&J or something like that before I left the house. So I was on one. So yeah, it was just a lot of alcohol. And then, like I said, when I got out, I was still joking about, how high my blood alcohol was. But during the DUI classes, they started making us watch these videos. And it's like, and we had to do kind of like group therapy almost. And there was people in there that had way higher blood alcohol levels than me. And we would have to talk about emotions from our childhood. And that's when I looked around and was like, whoa, like it's way deeper than I believed it to be because my friends are not here. I don't know what's going on in their life, but I'm the one who keeps getting behind the wheel drunk, right? And there will be nights when I wouldn't even remember driving home at all, and they'd be like, "Girl, you made it home, girl," because we were used to doing it, so it was like lackadaisical, and we wasn't really tripping about driving drunk. But when you think about the possibility of hurting someone else in a car, right? And you not remembering and waking up in jail or something and really spending years of your life there because you couldn't just like we didn't have like Uber and stuff back then, right at that time. So it was kind of newer, but still, I mean, there's other ways. But it was that I think the DUI really helped. And right when I had to take almost a year of DUI classes, and I had met my husband during that time, and he didn't really drink. And I was already slowing down on the alcohol because, oh, sorry, the catalyst for this. Do you want me to pause before I go into the next story or what?
No, you can go ahead right
Okay.
into it.
Go
Okay.
ahead, we listening, yeah.
Okay. So I had a hell date. I had met this guy at a concert, and I guess I met him in the parking lot. I don't remember because I used to like be drunk and I was like listening to the high feet music back in the day, like, Mac Dre and all that. So I'm hanging out the car. I don't remember a lot of anything. But I met this guy, I guess, and he called my phone and I'm like, oh, hello. We're talking for 2 hours. I'm thinking this guy is really cool. And I call my friend, I'm like, girl, do you remember this guy? She's like, I don't know. I think he must have been cute. I don't know. He comes over my house the next day. I invite him over to hang out. His hair is like old nappy braids or whatever. His nose was running. I'm like, oh my, why? But I felt bad, like people pleasing, and I let him in. And he like brought a little tiny thing of alcohol. I tell him this is not enough. We have to go to the store and get more. I end up sitting there drinking a whole fifth with this man, and he clearly doesn't drink. So he asked me to look at my pictures on MySpace, and we're looking. He tries to kiss me. I realize it's time for him to go, and I tell him to leave. And he starts banging on his head, sliding down my wall. Sorry. He was banging on his head, like, why is this always happening to me? God, it's so stupid. And he's just freaking out. And I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And I get him out my door. And but he will not leave. He stood there and he goes, oh, she's trying to play me out. Like she thinks I'm just and then I could hear him talking to himself, and then he started banging on my door and trying to like push my door in. I call the police. They tell me it's not an emergency. The lady actually yelled at me and told me it was an emergency. I'm like, so I'm on the second floor. When is it an emergency, right? When he's inside? Like, I don't know. So I ended up jumping off of my balcony that night and landing on my back in my neighbor's yard. And I remember running to my friend and being like, oh my God, like this person's chasing me. It was just a mess. And so after that, I was like, that was a clue that I needed to stop drinking, but it wasn't the end. It was really starting to get there. And then the more I drank, I met another guy who I let stay with me. I let him do the most. Like he cheated on me. I found condoms in my room, condoms in the like used condoms in my trash can. I left one weekend and him and his friend like destroyed my pool area at my complex and I got like a move out notice. So at this point, I don't have my apartment. I have to move out. I found out that because he didn't log out of his MySpace. So I found out he had been messaging like 15, 20 girls trying to have sex with him while I was gone. I found that condom wrapper in my room on the floor. So I knew that if he was in there with a girl, then his friend was in the living room with a girl. And I went in my kitchen trash and found the condom in there. So I just knew it. So I lost my man, lost my place, my job. I had just graduated from college and my job said, you either show up or you don't. On my graduation day, they wouldn't give me my graduation day off. So I ended up having to quit, obviously. So now I don't have a job, no house, no man. And it was like, I remember being like, everything, I was blaming everybody. And I remember walking by my mirror and it's like, you're a mess. Like you keep saying you don't know why men don't treat you right and stuff, but why would they treat you like a queen when you don't even treat yourself like that? Like I really remember having this conversation with myself, like, you treat yourself like shit. You give them the doormat to walk all over. Like you don't even care about yourself. And that was the moment when I was like, whoa, like if I want to meet a good man, but it wasn't that was the catalyst, like thinking about how this man did me, but it was more like this has to come from within. It really does. And one of the things that I decided I wasn't going to do was drink like that. I'm like, what if I keep talking about meeting Mr. Right, but if I met Mr. Right, would he even look my way? I'm a drunken hot mess right now. He would keep it fucking pushing. And that was like a wide awakening for me. Like, oh, okay, it is me. Right. So that's when I started looking into spirituality. How can I feel better on the inside? I started doing some of the inner work. I stopped drinking. And when I tell you, I manifested my husband in 90 days, it was just crazy. I knew I was going to get a job on a certain day. I showed up at that job at the interview place and I got a different job. But on that day, my friend called me, told me she had a place for me to stay. And my job that I just got was walking distance to her place that I just got. And I met my husband there within like, a month and a half of me being at that job. So my life just totally aligned once I stopped treating myself like shit and started treating myself the way I deserve. So yeah, that was the catalyst.
And also, at what part or what kind of significant moment was there? I remember you saying, after everything was said and done with your friend and her boyfriend, that you were just like, why am I still hanging out with them? Or why do I feel the need I still need to hang out with them? What was kind of the defining moment where, you decided to leave them in the dust or leave your friend in the dust or decide that, she maybe wasn't actually a friend to you?
Honestly, they were some of them are still in my life right now, but in different capacity. But it took me time to really phase them out. Like I, didn't want to rock the boat. I had been trained at this point by them to like not talk about it. And so I actually, towards the end of my college, I, wanted extra money. So I got a job. And when I got that job, I met like this new guy and I also met a friend, like a new girl. And then I started hanging out with a girl that didn't go to my college that I knew from back in the day too. So we kind of created a new crew and it kind of just like fell in place, where I didn't really have to say anything to them. I just found new friends to hang out with. But I didn't really abandon them. I still wanted their validation. I really did. I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to love me the way I loved them, even though they didn't show that. Sorry about that. Hope you can't hear that. Even though they didn't show that. And so even through the time when I stopped hanging out with them, like if they called me, I would still want to come to the events. If I had something, I would still invite them, and it's just over time you start looking at how people respond to your success in life and you realize, that's not it. And it wasn't until the Me Too moment that I actually acknowledged that what happened to me that night was sexual assault. It took until the Me Too moment for me to realize that I had been assaulted that night. And that's when I really started to unpack it because it was like, whoa, some of the women's stories was that story. And I'm like, that was sexual assault, and I didn't really understand that that's what that was. And it was then when I decided that I didn't want no neutral ass friends in my life. Like a neutral friend is an op to me because if you can't decide where your loyalty lies and something that bad happened to me and you still ain't trying to rock the boat, then you really chose a side and it wasn't mine. And so that's when the pieces started to come together and I fully disengaged from the group entirely.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Um,
Can you hear
I
that
was gonna
beeping noise?
ask, yeah, it's okay. I-
You want me to
If
have
you
my
want to
daughter turn it
mute
off?
it and come back on, that's
Okay,
okay.
one
I
second.
can. Yeah, that's fine. Um,
Okay.
you mentioned that you put others' needs and safety before yours. Can you tell us, because you say you've been doing wilding out, fighting, doing all kinds of stuff, right?
Yes.
What the wildest thing that you did putting others' needs and safety before yours?
I don't know if it's the wildest, but it's definitely the most impactful to me. My friend had got into like a verbal
Impactful, yeah.
altercation. Yeah, my friend had got into a verbal altercation with some girl that I had never met from a different school. So we're getting drunk at this football game, and she was like, that bitch over there is talking shit about me. I'm like, where's she at? Right. So I'm instantly on. I take another shot. I walk over there all chest puffed out, and we're at the little food court area during the football game. And I call her out in front of all the people that are standing there. There's got to be 50, 60 people standing around. And I just humiliate her at her school at this football game. Right. And so I barely remembered it, of course, because I was just an alcoholic at this point. But my friend, I was at school one day and I got a page from my cousin and she's like, hey, they about to come up there and jump you today. And so I'm like, oh, for real? Okay, bet. So then we come around the opposite corner. There's like all these people that I'm with. And the girls that came with the girl, like they instantly act like they wasn't there to fight, even though they're all wearing sweats, right? And they're like, she came to fight. And so we're like, okay, let's go do this, right? So we go over there. I end up fighting this girl. She still got the lump on her head from 11th grade, right? And so after that altercation, I'm like, I would do it again, right, for my friend. But I didn't realize that girl went to the college that I ended up coming to, where my friend was at. And she had already like tarnished my name in the Black community before I even barely when I got here. So making a Black friend in college was difficult. Someone that hadn't met her, that she hadn't told this story to, right? And mind you, I don't know this girl like that. I have no idea. So the part that took me out was that like this girl was my enemy the whole time because she just hated me because I beat her up, right? When I found out that my friend that asked me to fight her had made amends with this girl and didn't like set up a situation where the amends could be made for me, that's when I knew like, oh wow, she really don't care about me because the only reason why I fought this girl is because of you. And if y'all are friends, then there should be some attempt at making it amends with us, right? But she was okay with me having all these enemies behind her. And it was like, for me, that was one of the times where I really put myself on the back burner and really sacrificed. I mean, maybe not sacrifice, but the consequence of that was my inability to make real, true friends in college because of that disconnect for anybody who knew her. So that was real lame.
Agreed. Agreed. No, what would you say is probably the biggest, I guess, blessing within your healing kind of section of your life? Like, what was most significant to you or stood out the most once you started to kind of shift your mind frame and, the things you were involved in and things like that?
Right. So meeting my husband was a big shift because he didn't do all that stuff. And then, I mean, I met him in 90 days of that shift. 6 months I was engaged. 1 year I was married. I was pregnant on my honeymoon. My life just like snowballed. And then it was like we bought a house together. I got this job that was like like 6 figures almost, right? And it was just like I had everything, but I was depressed. I mean, the postpartum depression I had with my third child was like unbearable. I remember one day I just heard these voices telling me they would do so much better without you. You need to just leave your family. Your husband needs a different wife. The kids would do better with a different mom. Like, get out of their life. I heard this like clear as day. And I remember jumping up. Me and my husband were fighting because we didn't know each other like that. And we really brought our trauma to our relationship. You know, we've been able to heal it since then, but we brought our trauma, right? We brought our stereotypes and our ideas of what marriage was, and just it was a mess. So my husband is like, you're not doing enough around the house. And I got a newborn. I don't know really how to do this stuff. I was a fun and fancy free college girl before I met you. I don't know how to clean up after this many people, you know? Like it was just a mess. So we argued and I left the house. I remember sitting on the railroad tracks and I told my friend, like, I called her and I was like, girl, it was nice knowing you. I'm out of here. I was about to take it my life that day. And I remember my friend like, girl, come to my house and hit this weed. Like, she's like, you have everything you've ever asked for. Like, women would kill for you what you have. You have a husband, a degree, like children. Like, you're able to like procreate, right? You own a home. Like, what are you talking about? You can't see it. And it was that moment when I was like, whoa, like I felt so ungrateful. Like, I still get emotional thinking about it. I had manifested everything I had ever asked God for. He gave it to me on a platter, and I was unhappy. And I remember feeling like, oh, fuck that. And so I was like, I'm gonna figure this shit out. And so that's when I started learning. I learned about the law of attraction, and that's when I realized like I didn't have to just deal with my life. Like I could act. I'm the creator of my life. And then I was reading books like Eckhart Tolle, and he's telling me like you got two voices, and one voice is negative, one is positive. I'm like, what? And I remember I did this thing where I woke up in the morning and I just listened, and he was right. I heard two voices. There was one voice that's like, oh, you can sleep in, and another voice that's like, girl, get up and work out. And ever since then, I was aware of the battle my brain was fighting every single day during that depression. And so I just started learning all the things I did. I'm a lot of self-educated. I also took courses and trainings and just threw myself in spirituality and healing so that I could not only help myself, but I just was determined. Like once I started feeling better, I stopped taking my antidepressants, which if you're listening, don't be a hero. Take the fucking meds if you need them and you could just get off, but like, don't be a hero. Okay. So I took the meds. And once I started the habits that I could keep up where I didn't need them, I stopped taking them. Obviously, it's advised to do it under doctor's care, but I didn't. But and then I just realized like I want to help as many women as I can never to feel this low again and to teach them how to live happy. I don't think that's something that's natural. I think a lot of us, we know how to survive, but living and being happy is not something we know how to do. And it's something that we absolutely should invest in learning.
Okay, I'm gonna step in. I don't know if she's having issues right now with her sound, but um, where normally what I've seen and kind of in pattern, um, with that deep of a change within yourself, sometimes that also causes you to, not be as fulfilled in your existing career choices and things like that. Did this assist with stepping into something different for you, as far as your career? Or, what other huge changes in life did the shift kind of create for you?
Right. The funny part is, when you get on the frequency, a lot of the stuff that happens is not necessarily by choice. A lot of times the universe is always working for you. And so you might think that stuff is happening bad, but it's actually creating the environment for you to have what you asked for. And so when I started making these small changes, like I had already seen entrepreneurship in my life. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I already had, I did these MLMs. I didn't know they were scams at the time. So I'm like, damn, it didn't work. And then I started my own businesses. I had done that already. But when I started to make this huge shift, it's when I realized like I'm not cut out for 9 to 5. I don't want to do this. I never really did, So that was already something I didn't want. And there's a fiasco at my job. I ended up getting fired, but they didn't do their paperwork right. So I got to be on workers' comp for 2 years to allow me to transition. That was like the cushion I needed to be able to make these choices and decisions. Also, I recognized that I needed to take better care of myself. So that's stuff that I started doing subconsciously as I started making these small changes. But that job transition was not by choice, but it's something I had been wanting. So I pretty much manifested losing my job, but it happened for the best. My husband was afraid when I lost my job, but I knew it was gonna be okay because it's exactly what I wanted and what I needed. And during COVID, I didn't know what to do. I already seen it coming. I ordered filters like 6 months before we needed masks. I already knew, but it was in China, so I didn't get them in time. So I started sewing masks by hand. I didn't even really know how to sew like that back then. I said, I think I could do it though. And I started taking orders. I did a couple masks. I went and got fabric and I made some good money during COVID just making masks. And it let me know like you can do whatever I want. And over the time, as I'm learning all these different modalities of healing and skills, I created my own technique and it's called quantum hypnosomatics. So it's like I use quantum healing techniques, hypnosis, and then also body somatics. So moving your body, removing energy in your body to like heal on all 5 levels of healing. And that is when I really decided that I found my way to life coaching. I mean, it was really accidental, but that's when I realized this is what I want to do. I said I wanted to help women, so I'm going to train to do that. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Okay. Love it. I love it. I wanted to ask really quick because we're going into your husband and we're almost at time. When did you and your husband just finally was like, you know what, I had enough of this. It's time for us to heal and get our stuff together. Because a lot of folks in relationships, when you go through things, you trauma bond. So I guess, did you feel as though you and your husband were trauma bonding? And when did you feel like you two were? When did you both feel or come to the place where you felt like you were ready to heal?
I was already on my own mission. He was more like he wanted me to pay attention to him because at this point I was all in on my own healing. And I kept telling him, I need you to focus on you and me focus on me. And at first we would argue because we were trying to change each other. You know, I would match him at his energy. He would match me at my energy. I would have expectations of what he should be doing, right? And if he didn't do it, it's almost like a test that he didn't know he was taking. So he would automatically fail and it'd be a reason for me to be mad. And it was vice versa. And as after a while, it was like we almost divorced. Like we've been in and out of love twice. I always say that. Like, and it was just to the point where it's like, I don't want to not be with you. And I don't want to fight with you either. And he's like, me either. And it's like the more I did the work, I started responding differently And then he started responding differently. And then somehow he found his way to the spiritual side of TikTok or wherever he was watching. And he started asking me, like, have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of that? I'm like, yeah, like a couple years late, but yeah, I've heard of it. And it was just amazing as he transitioned and he started learning about himself. But ultimately, it was the understanding that we did not want to fight. Like, that is not, didn't feel good for either one of us. And ultimately, we wanted a long lasting marriage and that's what we had and we wanted to do that. So it was that understanding, but truly learning how you are toxic and how you are bringing those things into the relationship. I tell everyone the prerequisite for your healing is brutal self honesty and accountability. Like if you're not ready for that, then stop pretending like you're doing the work. Because if you can't stand there 10 toes and let somebody tell you how you make them feel without you being defensive, what kind of healing are you doing? Like, in all honesty, you've got to look. Even if you don't agree to what they believe you've done, it's like, I have made this person feel this way somehow, even if it wasn't my intention, right? And you don't have to respond to narcissists in a certain way. You really don't have to respond to nothing if it's not real, right? So it just was a change of mindset and a really an overhaul of everything I had ever known about relationships.
Okay. All right. Well, we're almost at time. We have two final things before we close out. I want to ask if you can give the audience some of the things that helped you through your healing journey, some advice, them watching your testimony, what you have been through, and then they could start the journey to healing. So just something that helped you form and shape who you are today. Some wonderful advice to them.
Right. I think one of the biggest things I noticed was that a lot of the things I had been through had created beliefs within me that I didn't even know were there. They're in your subconscious mind, right? Like your subconscious mind is what allows you to drive somewhere and not remember driving. It's like muscle memory. And so like figuring out what the beliefs that you have are that are stopping you from being successful is the most important thing to start your journey. And an exercise that you can do to do that is to, write your life story, write out the things that you wanted in life and put because after for the reason why you don't have it. And then when you're done, look at the list of all the reasons why you don't have it, and you will see a pattern of the because why did this not happen. You will see the pattern that you've given yourself, and once you kind of look at these patterns you can identify the belief that is no longer serving you, and then you can do a I actually have a little technique that you can do it in writing, but this is something that you can do is just pick up that list, start with one, and then think about three positive and true statements that you can use to replace that belief in your mind. So let's just say, for example, it's like, um, Black people don't make millions of dollars. Like that could be a thought for someone, right? Just a random thought, but that's not true. And so instead of you saying that, whenever you catch yourself saying it, you say, cancel, cancel to kind of like delete that thought and then just replace it with three positive or true statements or statements that you want to be true. So it could be, cancel, cancel. Black people do make millions of dollars. I'm on the path to make millions of dollars, and it's gonna be fucking easy. Like that could be the three things that you use to replace it every time you have that thought. And then every time you realize that whenever you have that thought doesn't come out up anymore, or you're able to do it every time, then you cross that one off the list and go to the next one and just start working them down. So that's a good exercise you can do, without really going too deep, without support for that.
Awesome. And we do want to give you the opportunity, as we do for all of our guests, to do shameless plug. So you see all of your information scrolling across the bottom here. You can let our viewers know how to contact you, how to utilize your services, anything that you want to draw traffic or attention to, anything you might have for sale. You have the floor.
Yes. So currently, I am creating a new community for women that are just like tired of being just feeling mediocre. You know that there's more for you in your life. You know, you want to be happy. You want to stop having toxic relationships. You want to stop fighting with your family, whatever it is. And you want to do that in an environment where you have other women that understand you and also a place where you can get daily healing, exercises, monthly challenges. And this is all for free right now. So right now is your time. So that is my community. It's called the True Self Tribe. And in that, we're going to be helping you to identify who you truly are, your true self, right? And so my community is the link is going at the bottom of the screen. And then also right now, I am doing a 5-day one-on-one challenge. So you would sign up with me and you can reach me via email or DM. And we would spend 5 days together helping you to stop the negative thoughts that are keeping you, holding you back, right? Keeping you small, holding you back from the things you really want in your life. So we'll spend 5 days together and I will teach you how to retrain your own thoughts and reprogram your mind so that those negative thoughts don't hold you back anymore. So it's an amazing offer. 5 days with me, 60 minutes a day. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit me up and I can't wait to get started working with you.
All right, you had it there. Again, we had another amazing guest, Chanel. We want to thank you for being a part of our platform and expanding it and sharing your testimony and being real. That's what we love. We love the realness, the very authentic. That's what we love. So thank you for bringing it to Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast where we're going to continue to share life experiences. Ain't that right, Cincy?
That's right.
Thank you
Yeah,
for having
that's
me.
right. Yeah, thank you so much. We truly appreciate you being a guest. And we hope you had an amazing time as well.
Yes, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will see y'all soon. Another amazing testimony. And if you need to reach out to Chanel, you see her information, or you can reach out to Sid and I, and we will share that information for you. So thank you for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. We're going to continue to share life experiences. This is not over.